Wendy's thoughts. Before the world gets loud, the dogwoods along North Highland cracked open this morning, white petals against a sky that hasn't decided if it's grieving or celebrating. A study landed on my desk that says what every woman who's survived a controlling man already knew in her sternum. As a side note, photos have surfaced that are completely disgusting, but for the sake of reporting, we will post. Don't hate us, please. Donald J. Trump is a pedophile. Prove me wrong. I'll wait survival tactic for today. Put both palms flat on a wall or a tree trunk. Press. Feel the resistance meet your body. You are solid. The world is the thing that's shaking, not you. The Daily Gathering survives because readers like you refuse to let independent queer journalism starve. If this lands in your chest, consider becoming a paid member. Table of Contents. Roots. Before the Storm. The live broadcast. The ground beneath your feet, weather and earth, the part that draws blood, the witness, what we carry from what we just read, the turning, where the breath comes back, the nurturing, food as medicine, the breathing, herbs, as curing the tending, survival protocols for your actual body, the practice, armor you can wear tomorrow, heroes and bright signals, the ones who showed up and the proof. It's working, gathering history. The roll call of those who were here. First, the carrying, what your body knows. When you close this tab, Bianak Dayreed, a blessing for the road ahead. Who is in the gathering? The ground beneath your feet. Weather and Earth Atlanta, 61, sunny. The red clay on the beltline is already baking dry, releasing that iron and earth smell that means the azaleas are about to riot. Detroit, 46, rain. Water pools on Woodward Avenue like the city is collecting evidence it plans to present later. Kansas City, 52, overcast. The kind of gray that sits on the chest. The kind of sky that dares you to feel something anyway. New York, 50, partly cloudy. Light cuts between buildings on Canal Street and slabs, warming one side of your face while the other stays cold. San Francisco, 56, drizzle. Fog and rain have married again in the sunset, and the eucalyptus on Stanyon drip like they're telling secrets they can't keep. Miami, 75, mostly sunny. The air already thick enough to hold your shape after you walk through it. The bougainvillea savage and indifferent. The Encrancoren a Curamach Dwiliach Ur. The rowan is pushing new leaf. And across the south, the redbud has gone purple against pine. That collision of color the wheel gives us when it wants to remind us. Even the earth comes back angry and gorgeous. Join the 5,000 plus subscribers who read the Daily Exhale, the part that draws blood, what woke me up angry. This morning, 3 stories today, and every one of them is about who gets to own a body that isn't theirs. First time here? Welcome to the gathering. Pull up a chair and a grudge. Editor's note. A peer-reviewed study just confirmed that the men screaming loudest about traditional values despise the women who obey them. And if that isn't the most succinct goddamn summary of American conservatism I've ever read, I don't know what is. MAGA men don't want trad wives. They want punching bags. The photograph shows a kitchen staged for Instagram. Marble countertops, blonde child, linen apron. Everything clean, everything controlled. Here's the machinery behind it. A study in Psychology of Women Quarterly surveyed nearly 600 men aged 18 to 29 and found that those championing the tradwife movement don't view submissive women with protective affection. They view them with hostile contempt. Researchers expected paternalism. They found loathing. The men who shout loudest about women belonging in the kitchen regard those women as beneath them. Submission doesn't activate chivalry. It activates cruelty. This is the grift the spray-tanned fascists' entire cultural project runs on. Convince women obedience purchases safety, then punish them for obeying. Ballerina Farms' Hannah Neeleman performs wifely submission to 10 million followers while her company fails health inspections. The aesthetic is control dressed as devotion. Pattern. Every DV shelter could have told researchers what the study found. Submission doesn't prevent abuse. It invites it. Scale. The tradwife pipeline feeds the narcissistic cesspool's base. Young men radicalized into believing women owe them labor, sex, and silence. Action. Support the National Domestic Violence Hotline, 1-800-799 to 7233. Share the study. Name the lie. The promise was devotion for submission. The receipt reads, contempt. Salon ancient ruins, underground cults, and history right before your eyes. 60 acres of Roman fortress, buried under southeastern Turkey for 17 centuries. Zerzavin Castle, a military garrison on the eastern edge of empire, is expected to become a UNESCO World Heritage Site when the committee meets in July 2026. But the garrison isn't what stopped archaeologists mid-dig. A Mithras temple discovered in 2017 revealed sacrificial hooks still hanging from the ceiling, bull carvings scored into walls, and a bowl designed to catch blood from ritual slaughter. The cult of Mithras, open only to men, banned when Christianity spread, was so secretive its practices were thought extinct. Evidence. Scale. 63 underground cisterns connected by channels carrying water beyond the castle walls, an engineering system so sophisticated it embarrasses modern municipal planning. Relationship. The nearby Tash Tepeler network, 25 Neolithic sites, is rewriting human origin stories. 12,000 years ago, 7 millennia before Stonehenge, communities here planted crops, built monuments, then buried everything under sand and walked away. Nobody knows why. Expert voice. Excavation director Aytat Koshkin calls the water system an engineering marvel, and the Mithraeum one of the oldest and best preserved in the Roman world. The earth holds what we abandoned. That is not metaphor. It is archaeology. National Geographic Parents' Rights is a slur wearing a fucking blazer kid came home from preschool with an opinion his mother didn't share. She panicked. Molly Spray Regan confesses that mammalian terror in her LGBTQ nation piece, then sits with it. The rotten apparatus calling itself the Parents' Rights Movement built a fucking war machine out of it instead. In 2022, the bloated grifter Ron DeSantis signed Florida's Don't Say Gay law. Copycats spread like sewage through cracked pipe. Librarians fired. Teachers axed for shelving rainbow books. The decomposing carcass of this administration now weaponizes what's left of the Department of Education to threaten schools that won't discriminate against trans kids. The Supreme Court's 6-3 ruling this March, parents have the right to know about a child's gender identity at school, handed a loaded weapon to the people most likely to pull the trigger. Between 20% and 40% of homeless youth identify as LGBTQ+. Parental rejection is the goddamn reason. This bile-dripping asshole movement was never about empowering all parents. Conservative parents only. One side teaches kids to hate. The other teaches love. No constitutional right exists to bully queer kids out of existence. None. Movement. AFT, LGBTQ Nation's April Education Series. Every librarian who shelved a rainbow book knowing the cost. LGBTQ Nation, don't miss our daily news digest. Have it delivered every morning. The Witness, what we carry from what we just read. When I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in the service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I am afraid. Liberace, performer, cultural icon, and the man who made queerness visible in a living room. America wasn't ready to share, D. 1987. What the study says and what your body already knew. Compliance is not safety. Liberace performed excess as liberation, rhinestones as refusal, and the audience laughed until they realized he'd been telling them the truth the whole time, in sequence, to their faces. When was the last time you mistook someone's demand for devotion? And when did your body know the difference before your mind caught up? The turning, where the breath comes back, leg diot and ti'elach, set down the burden, not forever, for the length of this breath. Your jaw is holding something right now that doesn't belong to it. Maybe the study, maybe the Supreme Court ruling, maybe a memory older than both that arrived uninvited when you read the word submission. Place your tongue on the roof of your mouth and let the lower jaw hang, just slightly, the way a door hangs open when someone has finally stopped slamming it. The redbud outside doesn't know about the news cycle. She blooms because the soil temperature crossed 55 degrees, because the day length hit the threshold her cells were waiting for, because the earth told her, now. Not because it's safe, because it's time. Izzy and Tiama the Anne, it is the time that it is. And you are in it, alive, your hands warm, the breath moving without your permission, which is the oldest mercy the body offers. The nurturing, food, as medicine spring onions are sharp in the markets this week. That clean green bite that means the alliums are awake and ready to fight for you. Seasonal, sliced spring onions thin over soft eggs with a drizzle of chili crisp and a pinch of flaky salt. The sulfur compounds are antimicrobial. Your body knows this as flavor. Trust that. Sovereignty. One spring onion bulb in a glass of water on the windowsill regrows in 5 days. Free food from a kitchen scrap. The quiet mutiny of feeding yourself without permission. Pantry meal. 7 ingredients, feeds 4, under 10 minutes. Sauté garlic and spring onions in sesame oil. Toss with cooked rice. Crack in 2 eggs. Splash of soy sauce. Handful of frozen peas. Fried rice. Biad bio. Living food. Made from what you already had, which is always more than you think. The breathing, herbs, as curing motherwort, Leonurus cardiaca, the heart's herb. Motherwort acts on the cardiac and nervous systems simultaneously. A bitter glycoside called leonarine slows a racing heart while the alkaloid stachydrine eases uterine tension. The name means lion-hearted. Brew as a cold infusion for 20 minutes. Hot water turns it brutally bitter. 1 cup before bed when the chest won't quiet. Caution, contraindicated in pregnancy, uterine stimulant, may increase bleeding with anticoagulants, not for those with hypothyroidism. Skullcap, Scutellaria lateriflora, nervous system sedative without drowsiness. Bacolin and scutellarin bind GABA receptors, calming the loop of anxious thought without flattening you. Tincture, 30 drops in warm water, twice daily. Caution, can potentiate sedatives and benzodiazepines. Liver cautious. Avoid with hepatotoxic medications. Hawthorn, Crataegus monogena, cardiovascular tonic, strengthens the heart muscle itself through oligomeric proanthocyanidins. Tea from dried berries, 1 tablespoon steeped 15 minutes. Caution, may interact with beta blockers and digoxin. Start low. Hawthorn builds effect over weeks. Tree lucerne, tree sligian, 3 herbs, 3 pathways, heart, nerve, vessel. The Enlusa kumhniachad, the plant remembers, what your body needs before you name it. The tending, survival protocols for your actual body leg diot and tiallach set down the burden. Not forever. For the length of this breath. Your jaw is holding something right now that doesn't belong to it. Maybe the study, maybe the Supreme Court ruling, maybe a memory older than both that arrived uninvited when you read the word submission. Place your tongue on the roof of your mouth and let the lower jaw hang, just slightly, the way a door hangs open when someone has finally stopped slamming it. The redbud outside doesn't know about the news cycle. She blooms because the soil temperature crossed 55 degrees, because the day length hit the threshold her cells were waiting for, because the earth told her, now. Not because it's safe, because it's time. Izzy and Tiama the Anne, it is the time that it is. And you are in it, alive, your hands warm, the breath moving without your permission, which is the oldest mercy the body offers. The practice, armor you can wear tomorrow. Every time we are silent in the face of oppression, we become its accomplice. K. Tobin LaHusin, photographer, activist, the woman who aimed her lens at gay liberation and refused to look away, D 2021. Be Nadshasam Fain, stand in your own standing. LaHusin carried a camera into picket lines when the act of photographing queer protest was itself a confession. She chose the record over her own safety, and the record is why we know what happened. Who marched, who held signs, who existed before the world agreed they were allowed to. Your task today is simpler and no less defiant. Witness one thing. Do not look away. What truth are you holding a camera up to? And what are you afraid the photograph will show? Heroes and bright signals. The ones who showed up and the proof. It's working. Names for the living record. Liberace, performed queerness as spectacle in mid-century America, won a defamation suit against a tabloid that outed him and donated millions quietly while the audience was still laughing at the candelabra. Died of AIDS-related illness in 1987, while the putrid vermin in the White House refused to say the word. Kay Tobin LaHusen co-founded the first lesbian periodical in the USOSH, the latter, photographed the earliest organized gay rights demonstrations, and built a visual archive that the movement still draws from. Magnus Hirschfeld founded the Institute for Sexual Science in Berlin in 1919, coined the term transvestite as clinical terminology rather than slur, and watched the Nazis burn his life's work in 1933. He died in exile. The research he gathered is still being reconstructed. Tree ein Mann, Aon Firin, 3 names, 1 truth. Visibility costs everything, and they paid it forward. Gathering history. The roll call of those who were here. First, Liberace won his London defamation case, 1959. Kay Tobin LaHusen photographed the annual reminder at Independence Hall, 1965. Magnus Hirschfeld opened the Institute for Sexual Science, 1919. The first National March on Washington for Lesbian and Gay Rights drew 100,000, 1979. Randy Weingarten's AFT passed its first resolution supporting LGBTQ+ students, 2015. The thread between 1919 and today is not progress. It is the same argument, fought by different bodies wearing the same bruises. The carrying, what your body knows when you close this tab. The sun, which provides no flattery, invited me to exist. Magnus Hirschfeld, sexologist, activist, the man who built the first sanctuary for queer science and watched it burned. 1935. The Ensogel Fathist Tigan Bio, the world is still coming alive. Hirschfeld watched the bonfire of his research and kept writing in exile, because the record matters more than the fire that tries to eat it. Today, a study named the cruelty behind the performance of devotion. A movement named its target, queer children, queer existence in any room where a conservative parent might be inconvenienced. And in Turkey, the earth gave back a temple buried 17 centuries, because the ground holds what the powerful erase. What will you carry into tomorrow that the fire cannot reach? Beannacht Deirid, a blessing for the road ahead. The Sin Fathast in SEO. We are still here. The rowan leaves. The redbud blooms against pine. The dogwood on North Highland cracked open this morning. White petals holding the light the way a hand holds a match. Briefly, bravely, knowing the wind is coming. You read it all. You stayed. That is not nothing. Beannacht Lieb, a Cherdian. Blessings with you, dear ones. Be subheilte, be safe. Be Donna, be bold. Come back tomorrow. We'll be here. Same table, same fire, same refusal to look away. Who is in the gathering? The voices woven into this work. Poetry and feelings. The poet Miranda. Calm personal queer journey. Thistle and fern. Org life. Banter. Brandon Elrich. Substack. Com Lisa's porch talk. Wuzitoya. Org. Wuzitoya. Substack. Com presence not permission. Presence not permission. Beehive. Com become a member. Thistle and moss. Com upgrade.